Okay, welcome back. Welcome back. Today I'm bringing back the interneting, because we need to talk about the headline grabbing exchange between two athletes, Simone Biles and Riley Gaines, over what? Yes, you guessed it, transgender athletes in women's sports. These are two champions. These are two hardworking women. There is a whole debate about whether men should be in women's sports. I've got opinions. You've got opinions. I want to plug something we always forget, so hear me out. It's just a thought. Okay, so first of all, if you are new here, happy you stopped by. My name is Gigi. I like to talk about culture and faith and critical thinking and everything in between. Sometimes I do apologetics. Sometimes I just grab the internet going viral and talk about whatever that is. Sometimes I plug some books or whatever findings I have. If you feel like that's good for you, it's good for me. Stick around, click subscribe. So Riley Gaines and Simone Biles got into somewhat of a fight, I would say, online, and the internet has gone viral. It landed on my feed. It probably landed on your feed as well. And so we need to talk about it.
Biles recently attacked Riley Gaines, who was calling out a female high school team with a biological male pitcher.
Speaking out against former U.S. swimmer Riley Gaines for her recent anti-trans sports comments. On June 6th, Riley reshared a post on X by the Minnesota State High School League. The Champlain Park girls softball team, which includes a trans athlete, was celebrating a state championship.
Of course, I'm not going to offer the commentary that you've seen and heard everywhere. I just want to add on a slight twist to it, because that's what we do on this channel. Now, these women, they're both women, have two completely different responses to a controversy that, if we are real, I think should not even be controversial if we understood the real things. And I will tell you right now, I do lean towards, of course, Riley Gaines' concern for fairness in sports, but I do also get where Simone allegedly is coming from, Simone Biles, as she is trying to speak from a place of compassion and uplifting others, including others, etc. But still, at the heart of this whole thing, I do think we're just witnessing something deeper. And this is why it matters and why I bring it to my channel, which is this is exactly what happens when humanity plays with God's design. And here's the kicker, and this is what I will focus on for the remainder of this episode. Both women, both Riley Gaines and Simone Biles, are, maybe without realizing it, but I'm sure one of them is, making moral arguments. Morality. We are back to morality. And morality always points back to God. So when we know the issue, we also need to go back to the solution. If you have missed it, though, because I don't believe everybody spends all of their time on the internet, maybe you're not on X, maybe you're not on YouTube a lot, except when you listen to this marvelous podcast. Just a quick recap. Riley Gaines is a former, does she still swim? She's a former NCAA swimmer. She commented on a post or reposted something about a transgender athlete, a little boy playing in some girls' sports. I think it was for a softball team. Her post on X called the, of course, fact that the winning team that was being celebrated also won because there was a boy on their team, a boy playing in girls' sports. And Simone Biles saw that. She responded to Riley Gaines saying, hey, you're sick. You're just a sore loser. You should probably focus all of your attention on creating separate categories, possibly for athletes. She also included some body shaming comments in there, all of that. And Gaines took time to clap back, defending biological boundaries in women's sports. She did accuse Biles of ignoring female athletes' sacrifices and dreams. Yada, yada, yada. All of that happened. I'm sure you can quickly find recaps and videos and commentaries on it. So that's that. The part I want to highlight, of course, is what I said before, which is the morality. Both of these women have different positions, but they're arguing from a place of what should be, a place of ought. That's what we call it. And as in, of course, this ought to be fair. That would be Riley's arguments. Or this ought to be inclusive, which is Simone's argument. My thing is, where does that out come from? Where does that should come from? Because it's certainly not science. Science in 2025 seems to be very debatable. The same individuals that will say that men can become women today will push science in some sort of way to justify that. And the same individuals who say men and women are different will show science to prove that men and women are different. So it's certainly not the science necessarily that we can say is these two women's arguments. I would say that it's morality. It's what should be from both their perspectives. And morality, as you guessed it, does not float in midair. It just does not exist by itself. It needs a foundation. And the foundation is found, let me tell you that you probably have guessed it, in God. We have reminders all over the Bible. And if you've never opened the Bible, today might be the day you decide to start. So congrats. But there are so many reminders of where morality comes from, of why we all seem to have some kind of a moral compass that pushes us to have these positions. Romans 2 on verse 15 teaches us that the law is written in our hearts. And that's what we're seeing. Even people today in 2025 who don't agree with the Bible are still pulling from the moral framework that God has already placed in all of us, without exception. And so if you're trying to find out more about this morality argument, how it ties back to God, I did make an episode about that in my apologetics series. You can go and find it. I think you will. It's a great connection to this present episode. So what I'm saying here is, when Riley Gaines says, hey, this is unfair for women, and when Simone says, well, this is kind of like unkind, you should have more, she didn't use the word compassion, but that's what I'm getting from it for the transgender people. We're hearing echoes of justice, right? Oh, fair, unfair, and also echoes of compassion. Oh, you should uplift, you should include, okay? And spoiler alert, both are good. Both come from God. Justice, compassion, and everything else in between come from God. And so if they all come from God, if we all kind of have this moral compass inside of us, why are we arguing and why are we so divided? That should be the next question. How is it that two women who are hardworking, champions, athletes, who kind of have the same reality in a lot of ways, how can they be divided in this type of on this topic, in this environment, for this controversy? Why are we so divided? The answer is chaos, okay? Because the deeper issue is in sports, as you may have guessed it. It's what we've been playing with, which is we have been playing with God's design for decades now. It's not this gender issue is very recent, I think, in terms of like mainstream conversation. But playing with God's design has been happening for decades, whether it's the gender part, truth part, identity part, freedom part. And then we get shocked that things are getting chaotic. So, of course, I want to know the reason you think we're divided, if we have the same understanding, or if we have a moral compass and we understand that there is good and bad. Why are we then so divided? My answer is because things are chaotic the minute we play with God's design. Let me know if you agree or disagree. And so the design itself is simple. We have been taught and told and shown the design. Genesis 1 teaches us that male and female, he created them. That was not a cultural suggestion at that time. It was kind of the foundation. You are made male or female. Now there are medical things going on that people bring into the conversation. There are both gender/sex attributes that can show up in people, medically speaking, but that's beside the fact that there are male or female creations. And so that was the foundation. And whenever the foundation cracks, there's confusion that floods in. There is division, and Of course, you may know that division and conquering is one of Satan's oldest trick. I put up an episode yesterday where I was reading Paul Harvey's fictional, what do you want to call that? Fictional passage or fictional text, should I say, about if he was the devil, how would he go about doing his devil things? And confusion was literally one of them, dividing people, making sure that nations are playing against themselves, people against themselves, churches against themselves. Dividing to conquer is one of Satan's oldest trick. Matter of fact, in the same book that taught us, hey, male and female, he created them in Genesis 3, the serpent didn't attack humanity with any violence or any like very loud, very obvious attack on the good stuff. He just questioned what God really said. That's it. He came in and he was like, well, is it really true? Do you really think that? He just questions what God creates and says. And that one little whisper was enough to divide a wedge, to drive a wedge, not divide a wedge, to drive a wedge. And that one little whisper was enough to drive a wedge between, of course, man, women, us, God, and then between each other, like between all of us. And so the same applies here. We start by questioning a little thing. Oh, is it true that you can only be one thing? Can't you really go from one thing to another? And the conversation starts happening and confusion happens. So here's where I stand on all of this. I believe men should not be competing in women's sports because of the reality that men and women are different. It is not hateful to say that. It's just recognizing biological truth and defending the fairness for, female athletes who train hard, work hard for their whole lives. I also believe that we need compassion, understanding, patience, educating, because this conversation is not about just the rules, right? And what creation is, but it's also about individuals. And most times young people who, even if they're not necessarily saying like that, are in a confused world, are getting confusing messages, are getting confusing affirmations that are hurting and searching for identity in a culture that offers more noise than clarity, as I always say. There's a lot of noise, but there's not a lot of clarity. And so I might be with Riley Gaines on the sports issue, but I do understand Simone's heart, if her heart, of course, is in the right place. People can argue that it's all political, it's all for the sponsors, it's all for this, it's all for that. I think there's a little bit of truth in there, but I don't know Simone's heart. I won't pretend that I know Simone's heart. So I do understand what seems to be happening in her heart, where she's looking for compassion and inclusivity. What I do reject, though, is the idea that we have to pick a side and hate the other. That's not okay. That's not from God. Picking a side and division is not of God, ever, 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 ever. And so if we were to forget this happened, because we forget a lot of things very fast when they're on the internet, if we were to move on, the confusion will not go away, because human nature is human nature. We keep trying to be independent from God. It keeps bringing chaos. We keep pretending that we don't recognize this, and we keep fighting each other. And so if we were to forget this moment, I think we should remember a couple of things still. Like, every kingdom that is divided against itself will never prosper. It's laid waste. The Bible teaches that. We also need to speak the truth in love. The Bible teaches that. We also should remember, for anybody that is a Christian, wants to be a Christian, follows Jesus, respects God's creation, that Jesus has prayed before he went that his followers would be one, just the way that he and the Father are one. Also, we were told, hey, this warning, woe to those who call evil good and good evil. We must recognize what's good, what's evil. What's good comes from God. What's evil comes from Satan. And so when we forget the things, like the fights that happen on the internet, and move on, we still need to remember the pattern that we see. And the biblical pattern is very, very clear. Truth without love is harsh. Love without truth is hollow. We just need both. And you know who gives both? The only person who gives us both is God, the truth and the love. The truth to say what is, and the love to embrace the people that maybe are not there yet. That's really it. Only God gives us both, not us, not the left side, not the right side, not Riley, not Simone, God. And so this matters because it's not about softball. It's not about the tweets. It's just about what I keep talking about every single time I'm on this mic talking to you, my friends, which is the cultural war between what God designed and what we think we can just redesign, retouch. And as much as culture says, hey, follow your truth, there's 8 billion people on this planet, there's 8 billion truths. God also say, by the way, there is one truth, there is one life. There is, like, I am the truth, I am the way, I am the life. And so on this channel, we like to look at moments like these because then they bring us back to the collision between God and the world, between God and culture. And we have got to decide at some point who gets the final word. You know my answer, but what is your answer? Let's talk, let's talk, let's talk. Let me know what you think in the comments section. First of all, have you been following this story? What do you think of men in women's sports, women in men's sports, transgender people, as they call them in non-transgender sports? I don't know how to even say that. How do we say compassionate to people that are going through whatever they're going through, but also not compromising truth? How do you address this? What do you notice? Let's just chat in the comments so we can open up the conversation. I guess that's it for me. Of course, subscribe for more of this. Send this to somebody who needs to hear it, and I will see you next time.